Welcome to A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to My Life. This is the place to be for stories to inspire and uplift when life doesn't go according to our plans. I'm Laura Muirhead, your host and the reigning queen of A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to My Life. I can't wait to share the plot twist stories of my guests that will inspire and uplift you when life didn't follow the plan, right here on A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to My Life podcast. Hello and welcome to this episode of A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to My Life. I'm your host, Laura Muirhead, and I am so excited to have as my guest today, Emma Weaver. Emma is an entrepreneur, a global speaker, TEDx speaker. What don't you do? She is the founder of Mental Wealth International, and she's my friend. So Emma and I have known each other for about a year and a half, but it seems like so much longer. We've been together internationally multiple times. So anyway, welcome, Emma. Come and tell us about yourself and what you do in the world.
Oh, thank you so much. And you're right, it feels like we've known each other so much longer. I've been in your home space, you've been in my home space, or country, should I say. So this is lots of fun. Yeah, I am Emma Weaver. I live in Ireland. I have three children. My background, I suppose, is I managed mental health services for over 20 years across the Western Trust area here in many different genres. I was part of policy change, government change, bringing in new services, maintaining the existing ones, and it was amazing. For over 2 decades, I learned a lot and met loads of people, which was amazing. And you're right, I am now the founder of Mental Wealth International. I'm also the co-founder of Synestics, which is a whole different area of expertise. And I'm very fortunate, I suppose, as well, to have authored at this point three books. The fourth one's on its way. And I've co-authored or contributed to, I think, another 12 or 13, a bit like yourself. Got the writing bug and I suppose realize now the impact that your words can have. So whether I'm speaking on a global stage or writing in an international best-selling book, I've definitely found a flair for that at the minute too.
You are one of the best speakers I've ever heard. And I know for a fact that you speak sometimes off the cuff, and it's amazing because most of us have to prepare and prepare and prepare, but you're an amazing speaker and author. You've had an impact with your books for sure. Um, and with your businesses, you're
Yeah.
also a founder of Horizonary, which
Yeah.
is a women's collective and has a global reach. So I don't know when you have time in the day, but you do.
I
And
know, and you know yourself, being a mum, you learn to kind of delegate and really get precious with your time. So throughout the years, and look, you're right, I have Mental Wealth International, SciNSX, and Horizonary, three thriving businesses. And then I also do some charity work as well in the background, where I have set up a new group called TIA, which is around domestic abuse. But I make sure I only commit to what I know I can. And I've learned that the hard way, to be honest with you, because when people see that you're capable or you're able in the things that you're doing, I wanted to be all things to all people, but learned very quickly the importance of showing up mindfully and intentionally to the right things, because it just gets diluted if you stop doing that. So everything you see me involved in, I'm fully immersed into, because I've learned the hard way to say yes to what I really want to, and just sorry, it's a no, not right now, to other things as well.
I think that that's a really important thing to mention because especially as people are listening to this or watching this, when they see someone like you doing all the things and you're not spreading yourself thin, you are making the time and being intentional like you spoke about. And I know you have been part of my Queen Code Mastery program, and that speaks to to Queen Code as well, and setting your personal policies and making sure you're not stretching yourself too thin.
Yeah, well, like who that serves nobody, to be honest with you. And I mean, I can only speak from my own experiences, and especially as being a woman as well. We just kind of have that in us to help people and want to help. But I know, and again, I've learned like if it's not, and the Queen Code does help with this because you need to understand your values. You need to understand your why. You need to understand what you're saying yes to. And if you're saying yes to all of those things, what are you saying no to? Because, and I do, and I don't know if it's my psychology background or what it is, but I question myself all the time. Why is that important to you? Where have you got that thought from? Are you able to offer all of your time? Are you spreading yourself too thin? And how do I feel about something? So, I mean, how, it's a feeling as well. Does it light me up? It has to light me up, or you're not getting the best of me. And, that just makes me resentful. It gives you a bad impression of me. So it's worthwhile having the courage. And it doesn't have to be a hard no. Sometimes I say, look, it's just a no, not right now. It's whatever you're comfortable with saying, but say it intentionally. And that is how you see me showing up in all different places because I've thought about it. I really have thought about it.
That's, yeah, I agree with this so much. But also, I see you really traveling the world with whichever one of your businesses you happen to be representing at that time, whether it's Dubai or here in the States, in New York or Australia. Where were you? You just were
I was
somewhere.
in Marbella. Yeah, I was in Marbella and I've been in Malta. But do you know what it is, Laura? I genuinely do be, oh my goodness, this is my life now because this was not always my life. I've had many challenge and barriers and some terrible things have happened along the way as well. So I do really appreciate that this is my life now. And I'm not going to lie. See, when you said to me I was one of the best speakers you've ever heard, because people just assume you know that you're a good speaker. It's lovely to hear that. It really is lovely to hear that. And I am so very grateful that that is a gift that I have and that I've nurtured. So I have nurtured that, and the reason why I'm able to speak off the cuff is because I've mastered my craft. I know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about mental wealth. I know what I'm talking about business and all the different dynamics to that there. And then with Horizon Area, of course, I know what it's like to be a female business woman or entrepreneur traveling the world because I live it. So everything is very much value based. And I have a few tricks as well because obviously I've done two TED Talks and then I've ran two TED events as well. So I got the license for TEDx and Enniskillen. So I have a little formula that I use whenever I know I'm being asked to talk. So I will always know my first line. I'll always know my first line. And in my head, I'll break it into three sections and then the talk just comes from there. That's literally my formula.
It's so amazing because I literally, this is no joke. I've literally been in a car with you, and I knew you had to be on stage within a couple of hours, and you asked me, do you know what you're talking about? And I was like, of course I have to know. Like, I'm so scripted. And you said, I don't know what I'm going to speak about yet. So, and it was fabulous. So
I
I
like
love
to
this.
read a room. I like to read a room because I could literally, where was I recently? Gosh, I was somewhere recently and oh, I think I was in Belfast talking about workplace well-being. And again, the lady sitting beside me had her notes. She had them on an iPad. Now, I couldn't do that. I would either need a piece of paper and read off that or nothing at all. Reading off an iPad, I would find quite difficult. And I said, I know what my first line is. And so I did. It was a statistic around what we were talking about or whatever. But I needed to read the room. I needed to know, was there men and women in the room? Were they all business people? Were they people impacted by what we were talking about? To know where to go. And then at that point, I work out my 3 points. That's how I do it. And like I don't take it for granted. I really do appreciate it's a gift that I have and I nurture it all the time. And I do remember one time as well, Laura, I was asked to speak at the Department of the Economy conference here in Northern Ireland. And again, I kind of knew what I was going to say. And the day before, they asked me to send them my speech. And I said, I don't really talk off script. And they said, we can't let you talk unless they had to know what I was going to say to make sure. So I had to write the speech the night before and speak it then when I got there. So that was a new one for me.
Did you stick to it? Did you stick to your
Oh,
script?
you
You
had
had
to.
to.
Yeah. So exactly what I sent them is exactly what I had to say. And that was all right too. I mean, it's all part of learning. That was okay.
Amazing. So I want to go back for a minute because I mean, you do have so many businesses, but I would like to mention back to the fact that you have three children.
Mhm.
And I know that you have both personally and business wise had different, a funny thing happen on the way to my life moments. Could you maybe mention um, something about your personal journey as a mother?
Mhm. There's lots of different things, and all of my three there's a big age gap between my three children, so they all come with their own unique and different story. My youngest child was born through IVF. I had never anticipated that. Whenever we found out we couldn't conceive naturally, I suppose it was a blow. It was a really big blow, something I found it quite difficult to get my head around. I already had two children, and there was other mediating factors as to why we couldn't conceive. And I went through IVF, and that journey was harrowing. Took a lot of toll on me emotionally and physically. And fortunately, after years, we were successful and had a little girl. And from that, then came the invitation to write a book about it. So that's the funny thing that happened. So I went through this experience, didn't tell anybody. Nobody knew until she was 6 months old. Nobody knew. And then I was invited for my 40th birthday to write a book. So I wrote a book about the emotional impact of IVF because there's loads of books about the physical. And I wrote the book. And this sounds like such a cliche, Laura, that I wish I had read when I was going through it, given that I talk about emotions and mental health and well-being. All this stuff was happening to me. I was having these intrusive thoughts, anxiety, and if somebody had explained it's maybe the medication or hormones or it's part of the journey, I think I would have coped a lot better, but I didn't. So I wrote a book. And then I got invited to do a TED Talk. Like I got invited to do a TED Talk about IVF, and anybody here knows you apply for TED Talks and you may or may not be. So I again truly blessed to be able to do that. But going through IVF, there's no way I'd anticipated because we didn't tell anybody that I was going to write a book about it. Never mind do a TED Talk on it. And what happened then was that completely catapulted me into a whole new world of speaking and being an author. And the book went to international best-selling status overnight. Like I kid you not, I woke up with a notification that the book had went to international best-selling. I couldn't believe it. Again, that was a new world to me. That wasn't really something. I know Karen, that was her world. It certainly wasn't mine. And I was still managing mental health services. So Laura, the Emma you see now is a completely different Emma than the one that you would have met 10 years ago because I was so serious and I manage mental health services and this is a serious issue and we're going to sort this out. Whereas now I'm very much, yeah, let's talk about it. And I've learned a lot of things about myself from that journey that I am open to talking about the hard things. You usually see me fully immersed in a conversation that nobody wants to talk about. So whether it's mental health or IVF, or domestic abuse or the death of a parent, you see me fully immersed in that because of my own personal experiences. So that journey definitely changed the whole trajectory of my life, although I didn't know it at the time. So that is one personal thing that happened to me, I suppose, that springboarded me into a whole different world.
And I think this is the point. This is the point for me of not only this podcast, but my memoir, If Anything Happened on the Way to My Life, because things happen. Like unexpected things happen. And it's the way we approach those things, the way we react to those things that are so important. And I genuinely believe, just based on things that I've experienced and what you're saying as well, is that those things frequently open doors that you absolutely didn't expect, like what you're saying. And even I love that you're saying, even though you were a mental health expert, you still struggled. And I also, to follow up on this, is the power of story, the power of us. So many people maybe wouldn't have said anything. No, it's not for me, it's not for me, it's my personal story, I'm not going to share it with anyone. And this is the point of, when we do share, it inspires people, it impacts people, it uplifts them, whatever. And it's so important. And I love that you shared your journey. And I've heard your TED Talk. I haven't read your book, but I have heard your TED Talk, and it's so good.
Yeah, it was, I mean, and that red dot, honest to goodness, like again, this sounds terrible. That was an opportunity that came my way. There's one thing about me is, if an opportunity comes my way and it's a yes, it's a yes if it's really aligned. It's always a yes. And then I'll figure it out. And having to, like, when I done my first TED talk and it was on IVF, I knew my talk inside out and upside down because it was TED. I took note because it was so important to get the timings right, to articulate how I was feeling, even down to pulling the elastic band on my hand to try and forget about the pain of the stingy injections. And like, it was so important to get that right because of the audience that it was going to maybe go out to, and I really felt I wanted to do it justice. So I knew if you'd said to me, what's the fourth word on the third line of your TED Talk, I probably would have known it. And that's the only time it was for that TED Talk. Now, when I done my mental wealth TED Talk, I was not like that. But for the IVF one, I knew I needed to do it justice for myself and the journey as well, and to complement the book was so important. The amount of people that came to me afterwards, and this is so funny. This really is, because we told nobody, and I'm actually quite a private person. Although I'm on social media, people have no idea what actually goes on in my life. It's quite funny. Um, to have told nobody, to be speaking on a global stage and then writing a book that went completely international about the subject matter that I never spoke about. But the impact, and you're right, Laura, it has created so many conversations. Like, I had people coming and knocking my door saying, my sister went through that. And I just thought it was injections. But reading your book, I now know it's so much more. Like, it just takes over. Well, it did with me. It takes over everything. But again, that was my first book. That was amazing.
That is amazing. And you're right. We don't know. I know people who have gone through IVF or whatever struggles with having a child, and we don't know. And I do know that it's also a financial burden, it's emotional burden, physical burden. Um, so thank
Yeah.
you for
It's
sharing that.
epic. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's been really good. And then I got the bug and then thought, gosh, I better write a book about what I talk about most. So it was mental wealth instead of mental health. And then that springboarded me then to another TED Talk, which I just was like, how is this my life? But it's really important to understand sometimes when you're going through something, finding the courage then to talk about it. No, you don't have to, but if you have that courage or that burning desire within you, you just have to believe and know it makes a difference, because it does.
Yeah. So mental wealth, tell us a little bit about that name
This
and
is
that.
another this is this is another one of those funny incidents, because I obviously had a great job. At that time, I was in a relationship. I had my three children, and everything was set and stable. And, just one of those happy go lucky people getting on with their life. And we ran an event in Crumcastle here in Ireland in 2019 called ENE, Entrepreneur Circle. It was with Karen and Shelley at the time. And I was there helping out because, I'm the person on the ground in Ireland. I'm the one, the kind of runner when all these events are going on. And we were there and I was listening to all the speakers. So it was speaker day, I was listening to all the speakers. And there was a gentleman there, Ron Malhotra, who I'd never met before. He's from Australia. He had came to stay with us in the castle. And he got up and spoke. And I remember sitting in the audience thinking, that really landed with me. I could do what he does. Where that thought came out of my head, I don't know, but it came. And I was looking at him talking to him. I resonate with everything. In fact, a lot of what he's saying, I say, and it really landed with me. So I just thought, oh, okay, I'll sit with that. And 3 weeks later, Laura, I woke up out of my sleep at 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't know where all the threes. At 3 o'clock in the morning, and I don't know about you, but I always keep a pen and a piece of paper beside me in the bed. And I woke up in the middle of the night, and I kid you not, I went mental wealth. And I just started writing and writing and writing and writing and writing all about the concept of mental wealth being looking after yourself when you're well or when things are going well, to build your mental wealth resilience or your toolbox or your capabilities around it, so that whenever life gets tough, you have this essentially a toolbox or the skills to overcome whatever it is that's going on. And it just all went from there.
Amazing, amazing. And yeah, I know about the 3 at 4 a.m. Muse that
You
wakes you
do.
up and says, "Hey, you got something to say, or you've got something to write, and you better get it down now before you miss it." So that's amazing. And but at that time, that was you were still in a traditional job at that time? Was that before you founded
Mhm.
the company?
Mhm. So what happened was then Mental Wealth International. So then I done what most people do. Then I started buying all the dot coms and the dot UK, and I got really practical with it. So that was in 2019. And then I stayed in my, obviously I was still managing mental health services. And then I started Mental Wealth International and started talking. I started doing talks and workshops around mental health adjacent to my existing job. So like on a Saturday, I'd have went out and done a talk to a community group, or believe it or not, the construction industry is my biggest client. So I go out onto building sites and talk about, like, I'm talking about mental health, I'm talking about the serious stuff, but in a new way. I'm using new language. I'm really getting to the grassroots of it and really getting to understand that we all have a part to play in supporting our own mental health, but our those people around us, and it's really important. And businesses have really taken it on, like they really have taken it on. So after about 8 months, then I think COVID hit. And then obviously I was working in mental health at the time, and we all went on Zoom. And then the organization that I was working for came out with a couple of policies that I just didn't agree with. I just thought we can't do this in the middle of a global pandemic where people are at their home. And I thought, okay, I'm out. And I left and then just kept going with Mental Wealth International. Now it's hard work, Laura. It's hard work, and I know it works. I've been very fortunate. So I do workshops. It's not just me, I have a team behind me. We deliver mental health first aid, which is an accreditation for, it's like first aid, except it's mental health first aid. So it's world recognized. We go out and deliver that to allow people to be trained appropriately, and how to support people in their moment of need, should they need it, if their mental health's not great. And then I also do keynotes, and that's where you will see me around the world. I mean, I've been in, as you said, Dubai and Los Angeles, and I was in Australia, and they were all mental wealth talks. That's all. Or emceeing. I love emceeing an event. Give me that microphone, and I will be the best ever you seen. You seen it yourself in New York. Now that was a dream to MC an event in New York. I'm slightly obsessed with New York, and I MC events as well. So really found the flair for all of those things somewhere along the line. And then that's whenever I ran TEDx in Enniskillen, that's when I met Charlie. So he was my tech guy in TEDx in Enniskillen. He was the technical because I have no idea about tech. And then that's where Synestex, which is an incubator hub for startups and scale ups. So that's where that happened. So it's completely parallel to what I do. But I don't know if you agree with me on this. All skills are transferable. So I have people skills, organization skills, I have a vision, I'd say yes if it's aligned, and Charlie's tech so um that's how that was another little yes moment that brought me down a whole different road. Again, out speaking, creating opportunities for other people, helping the people that are coming along build their journeys and businesses as well. So that's important to me too.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to ask you how Cinetex came about because I had no idea. But I have seen you in action. I have seen you, number one, be an MC, and you are amazing. But also, I've seen you just in a situation where something has gone completely sideways, and you just take up the ball and go with it and handle the situation with complete composure, by the way. And it's amazing to watch, and no wonder you have successful businesses. But would you talk a little bit about Synaptex and what it does? Because I think it's fascinating, that side of it as well.
And again, Laura, it's a bit like Mental Wealth International. It came out of a gap or an unmet need. There seems to be like that reoccurs in my life quite a lot, even with the IVF and the DV as well. If I see an unmet need and I think I can add value to it, I'm not afraid to kind of go forward. So here in Ireland and the UK, if you're a startup or scale up business, you'll potentially be put onto a program, you'll be allocated hours, and you'd follow that. And that's a government scheme that maybe you're delighted to be on, but isn't really going to push you forward. So Charlie is a tech guy, and he would have been drafted into some of those schemes to help build a website or an e-coms business or Shopify or something like that there. And that's what he done. And then we recognize very much that people are only being brought to a certain point and then that was it. You're meant to grow your business, or then you're having the challenge of trying to maneuver all these different places that give you funding, whether it's monetary or in hours or mentoring. So we sat together then to build out our own platform to support startups and scale ups. And that's how it came about. So throughout the years, we take on a cohort of 10 businesses. So we went around and got private funding from major companies across the island of Ireland that had like a social conscience or wanted to offset some of their funds into the next generation of business owners. So we were completely fully funded privately from that, which in a very strange way, Laura, gave us free rein to understand the market needs, what was trending, how we were evolving, and the needs of other people. So we've built a whole program around that. So you come in for 12 months and we wrap around you and your business and your team. So if you're a startup, to get you off the ground, we put you into this amazing academy that is fully accredited CPD courses to upskill you. So if you identify, look, I'm not great at talking, or I'm not great at team meetings, or I'd like to know more about LinkedIn or how to do my books, we have a full suite of courses that you can do that to get you off the ground, as well as mentors. We've mentors all over the world. So we started to build that out and it grew exponentially. And people started to see what we were doing and the success of some of the businesses across the island of Ireland and the UK. And then we spread out then to Dubai. So we now have partners and Synestics. Our whole program is in Dubai, South Africa, Morocco, and Cyprus at the moment. That's where we are at the moment. So last October, when I went out with Horizon Area, which is an all-female trade mission to Dubai, we launched our Synestex office out in Dubai whenever I was there. So that was a very proud moment. Now, Synestex, we're very, very lucky. We've that whole wraparound program. What we love about it is it's tailored. So what are your needs? What do you need to get your business off the ground? Or what do you need to scale? And then we wrap that around you. Instead of us telling you this is what we do and we're going to put you into this program, what do you need? And we wrap that around. And then we were also very fortunate in 2024 to receive quite a significant amount of funding from our American partners. And we now have a capital fund where we're an investment, so a Synestex Capital. So we're able to invest quite significantly into companies that have already scaled but can't get to that next level without a significant amount of money. And we're now able to do that. So it grew quite quickly from 2022, really.
Amazing. And you have an office in New York now, right? Correct?
Yeah. We
Yeah.
have an office
So
in New
that
York. So our partners are over there. So we have an office in New York. Like, Laura, why am I not in New York more?
I don't know. I don't know why you're not in New York more. We'd love to have you over here more
I
often.
know. I'd love to be there more often. So we have an office in New York. We have an office in Dubai. I do believe Bilal is signing off an office in Morocco in the month of June. It hasn't happened yet. But we have an office there as well. And then obviously we're already in Cyprus and South Africa. But again, Laura, it's all, how do I explain this? It's all our idea around Synestex and about understanding the markets. And the same thing applies, whether it's in New York or Morocco or Dubai. That unmet need for startups and scale ups is very similar, and we put a lot of time and effort even to make sure that on the different websites, it's the local language. We're not assuming we go in with English everywhere either. There's a lot of thought and breaking down those barriers to people receiving the support that they need. Because one shoe does not fit all. And that's what we very much recognized, and that's why we've tailored it the way we have. So very fortunate. There's a lot of work goes into it. We do be busy, and you probably see me in Malta at the startup event in Malta, and then whenever we present what Synestex is doing, there's nothing else like it. There just simply isn't anything like it. So people be very keen to become involved very quickly.
That's amazing. And I would think that there's a certain level of Mental Wealth International and Syntex having crossover, and what you do and know for Mental Wealth International can support the people
Entrepreneurs.
that you're bringing up, the startups that you're mentoring and working with. And I think it's incredible. I think it's an incredible business model, for
Mhm.
sure.
Yeah.
I also want to go back for a second to the fact that you said that you have so many customers that are excuse me, I can't talk, construction companies,
Mhm.
because that's an industry that you would think, and we own our business, and it's a repair business, and similar, it's not construction but similar, like hardworking hands-on workers. And that seems like an area where men would be, because most of our employees are men, and that's why I'm saying men, and I'm not trying to leave out women, because I'm sure there are women in the construction business, but it seems like they would come across as like, no, I don't need mental wealth, I don't need help in this area, even though every person has times when they could use support.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts about that?
Now, that happened organically. So obviously when you own your business, you spread out and you tell people what you're doing. And like, I mean, it's consumer based. So while my motivation is to support people with their mental health, and it's always been that, and I've proven that over decades, it's a business. So I got into contact with a man that was a health and safety officer on a construction site. Got into a conversation with him one day, and he started telling me about his issues. So then I supported him in his moment of need, and he was like, "Jeepers, you're good at this." So then I went on to explain what I done. So that was one of my first contracts. I got straight into Wills Brothers. It's a huge construction here in Ireland. They cover the whole Ireland and they've multiple sites. So once I started doing that, I was then, I don't want to use the word recommended So then one health and safety officer person recommended me to one of their colleagues that maybe worked on a different site. So some of the sites could be three different construction companies all on one site doing different things. And I kid you not, Laura, you could see me standing in a building site in Dublin in front of 200 men. Now, I'm sure, and you know me, and the crack would be good, but 200 men talk about mental health. Now, some of them come in, and you're right, they're really adverse to it. They're looking at me thinking, this doll is rocking up here like that, and she's going to try and tell us about mental health. Well, I kid you not, by the time they're leaving that room, they're realizing it's not all like you don't have to hit the ground to be looking after your mental health and well-being, and looking after your own helps others as well. It allows you to show up your best self for your family, for your colleagues, whatever it is. And because of all of my experience, I don't need to fluff it up with fancy words, Laura. I get to the absolute grassroots of what we're talking about and allow them space to talk about it as well. So I suppose my reputation, I suppose, has built. It now precedes me in terms of people know what they're getting. They see me online, which is quite funny and peculiar. But unfortunately, here in Ireland and the UK, two construction workers a day kill themselves a day. Yeah, there's a whole research piece done around that with the Lighthouse Foundation. So construction very much recognise, right, we have a problem here. And if you were to really bed down into that, some of the main issues are loneliness. Because here in Ireland, construction workers could be leaving where I live in Fermanagh and driving 2 hours to go to Dublin, and then maybe staying all week, Monday to Friday, on their own in a very small room or a bed sit and coming home on the Friday. So loneliness is huge. Financial issues and family matters and deadlines are the four triggers, apparently, through this research piece as to why construction has such a high suicide rate. So that's where you'll see me standing, whether it's I'm a keynote, I'm talking about it, or delivering a workshop, or my team has come in and delivered mental health first aid. And the reason why I love mental health first aid, Laura, is because you're training peers to support each other. So they will notice very quickly if somebody seems off, or someone hasn't turned in on a Monday morning, or is that 3 Monday mornings in a row? What's going on here? And if we're able to train people to be competent and confident to approach the subject matter of, what's going on, it makes a huge difference, huge difference. And look, I have been on building sites, and the reason why they've got me out there is reactionary, because they have had a suicide and they're like, right, we need to get somebody in to talk about this. So it works. It can be both.
I think this is obviously such important work that you're doing, especially in that field, clearly. I also think that the narrative has changed over the years, because it seems like years ago it would just be like, we're hard guys, we're hard workers,
Yeah.
we're just doing the thing. And to change it to have your coworkers looking out for you and keeping an eye out and saying, hey, maybe Mike over here could really use some support. I think that's really, you're really making an impact, and it's huge. Amazing.
And for some reason, Laura, like even my dad just said to me, how did you think of the name mental wealth? And I genuinely woke up out of my sleep, mental wealth. It was like a calling. And for some reason, people feel more at ease or more able. We're still talking about the same thing, your mental health. But when I phrase it mental wealth, it seems to open. So that's why words are so important as well. It seems to allow people to be more open, but we're talking about the same thing, but it just appears to be, I don't know, there still is that stigma. And people quite often say to me, let me say, Chloe's 30, so like I'm 27 years working in mental health, and it's completely different. Like the issues are completely different, the language is different, what we believe works definitely is different. Um, there's different trends and triggers that come up throughout all of the years, and people do say, but there's more being done. There's more being done. And my thing to that is we are talking about it more. We definitely are talking about it more. Is there more being done? I'm not sure. However, the fact that companies bring me, and it's not just construction, I be in the manufacturing industry where people are making food, I be in gyms, universities get me in to talk. As I said, my reputation seems to be that I'm not afraid to talk about things other people aren't talking about, but I know what I'm talking about because I'm doing it for 27 years. Um, and I suppose the word mental wealth seems to intrigue people, as where I come up with that idea.
Well, and also, there's no point in walking in and being fluffy about something that it's an important issue that you need to get to the bottom of it and talk to people, not just sugarcoat
Yeah.
everything. And I would imagine that does take a special person. I also wanted to, I'm not sure how I want to phrase this, but mental wealth, obviously, your mental state, your mental wealth, that I feel like calling it that, naming it that, is a more positive connotation to it, but also no doubt there's a ripple effect to what your mental, if you have good mental wealth, then clearly that's just going to not only affect you, but everyone around you.
Yeah, and that's the idea. And for years I've talked and talked about like your mental health and your physical health should go on par with each other because, and there is so much talk about your physical well-being. I believe you can't have one without the other. You can't be mentally well without being physically well. You can't be physically, it takes the two. The two should come as one. One should not be more of a priority over, the other. And they do say your health is your wealth. And I believe that, whether it's your physical health and well-being or your mental health and well-being. Because Laura, and I have met a lot of people in my life, and I've been really fortunate to be able to have some amazing, really meaningful conversations. But no amount of money, if you are mentally unwell, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Or, you look from the outside in that you have it all. You've your house and your husband and your children, or whatever it is that people perceive that you have it all. If your mental health is suffering or you are impacted by your mental health or well-being, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But I also recognize we have to work at that. We have to work at it. I mean, you cannot take for granted the same as your physical well-being. You just can't. You go to the gym or you go for your walks and you lower your cholesterol, or you do whatever it is to keep you physically active and out there. But we need to prioritize our mental health and well-being as well, because it takes everything, especially nowadays when there's so much information, there's so much access. Like, I mean, I talk about this all the time. Like when I was at school, if I had a bad day at school, I come home and I was able to sit with my family and not having to think about school to the next day. It's society's not like that now. We're too accessible to everybody. There's no getting away from things unless we can be disciplined enough to throw the phone or not turn on the iPad, whatever it is. But and that takes a lot. So we have to constantly be like, what's your morning routine like? Do you go for walks? Like when I'm at the gym, it's as much for my mental health as it is for my physical well-being. It's that like that mental fitness that you can feel if you're looking after your mental health is unbelievable. And I think people underestimate it.
Mhm. Well, and a lot of people don't have the the fortunate situation of a family. Sometimes the family that they come home to from school, it's not only just the technology and constantly being connected, it's also what are you coming home to, and is it you were, I'm fortunate to have that in your life, and maybe somebody else doesn't, even anybody can struggle with whatever it is. And I agree, what you can have everything and still struggle, and you don't know
Yeah.
what it is. Something could come sideways at you, and that goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning. How do you react to things, and how can you have tools in place which to help you see, without, again, without just overshadowing something and saying, well, I'm going to pretend that didn't happen. It's not about that. It's
Yeah.
about looking at the situation, working through it, finding answers, finding support. But for me, some of the hardest things in my life have been finding gratitude in the situation. And sometimes, again, like what we spoke about, not realizing that, okay, that seemed like that was a really awful thing, but these good things came from it. And I never would have expected that. That's why I love hearing people's stories that have experienced horrible things even and have come out the other side even better than where they started. And I think that's so important. And the work you're doing is amazing. I think that we could potentially talk all day. I know we could. I feel like this should be a podcast series, but I think we should probably, are there any last thoughts that you want to talk about? Anything you want to bring up or anything
If
you
you
want
didn't, yeah,
people
if you
to?
didn't, what I'd like to say is one of the things I've learned lots of life lessons in my life. I know I've alluded to some of them, the loss of my daughter's dad, going through IVF, breakdown of a marriage, DV, all of those things. And my why for Mental Wealth International is because I couldn't unsee knowing that workplaces are a significant part of a lot of people's lives. And if we're able to support people's mental health there. But one of the things that I've had to learn over the last few years, believe it or not, and I'm old enough to have many a year behind me, is it's really hard to ask for help. It's really hard to ask for help, but it's also very hard to accept it. Accept. So when I was going through hard times in my life, and there've been a few, one of the things that I recognized was I found it really hard to accept help. So I mean, we have to be very kind to ourselves and allow others to help us along the journey of this thing that we call life as well. And that is a life lesson that I have learned of late.
That's so good. And I agree with it because so many times people might say, "Oh, I don't have any help." And if you just would ask for it, that there are people that are there, or people might be seeing it and you're unwilling, might be offering it and you're not willing to accept it. I think that's a really important point. Before we go, tell me what is next for you. What do you have coming up? What's going on?
Oh gosh. Well, obviously, Synestex again is launching. We're launching more businesses and partners across the world. JP Morgan being one of them. I'm very excited about that. We're allowed to say that now. And I have a new book coming out. It's called Let's Do Better. And it has stories about people's, I suppose, experiences about domestic abuse, and also it's solution focused. So what worked, what didn't work, what would you like people to know? I'm very excited and humbled to be in a position to be able to bring that book to the forefront, especially here. And then we're also back to New York with Horizon Area, which is very, very exciting. It is in November. And then I'm out to Dubai as well, with Synestex, because we've got new partners out there. So there's a little bit of traveling in between all the rest of the stuff. Just keeping talking, Laura. That seems to be my thing.
And I will be seeing you in October again at the castle near
Oh,
your
at the
home.
castle. Oh my
We will
gosh.
be back in
How did I
Ireland.
skip past that? Oh my gosh. That be's amazing. It be's amazing because I get to do it with my sister, obviously, but then also we get to hire the castle and everybody gets to know each other. And I mean, you love it, right?
That was amazing. The Heroes Roar Castle events are incredible, and I can't wait for that. Also, you are, I hate to bring this up because you skipped over this one. Um, the, my anthology that I'm leading is Undeniable Presence and women owning their stories, and you are a co-author in that anthology. Thank you very much. I'm honored to have you as part of that and share your story. So lots going on in Emma world.
Lots going on. And again, Laura, you've began, or you definitely understand and appreciate the power of words. What I love about a book in the written form is people have it all the time. You can pick it up and take what you need from it at any time. So there's magic in your book. I'm very fortunate to know some of the other co-authors in that book as well. So it's going to be amazing, and it's launching whenever we're over in Yeah.
in New York. Yeah, it's going to launch in New York City. So excited for that. Are there any website? I mean, I'll put any information in the show notes as far as connecting with you, but is there anything, a website or anything you want to just mention now, or we'll
Yeah,
just put
so
it in
you
the
can get
notes?
me. Yeah, you can get me on the Mental Wealth International website. Learn. There's little videos and different things on that that allow people to understand what we do, and also Synestics. And I'm sure you'll put that up. There's a website there
Mhm.
as well. For people to understand what we do, or if they had an idea of a startup or scale up, we're always real happy to have a conversation around that. And creating impact around the world is very important. And I'm on all the socials. You'll see me
Yeah.
doing my little car chats on socials every day. So yeah.
I was going to mention your card chats because I seriously follow Emma on Instagram because she puts in her stories her card chats. What's your Instagram that you share that? What's
It's on
your
Emma. Yeah, it's Emma Weaver. So they go up on them. Some of them go up on my mental wealth one as well, but I kind of forget to always go on Emma Weaver. And again, somebody happened to mention to me, Laura, I was so serious about mental health and talking about mental health, and I was in Australia and they said, we want to see more Emma. And I was like, why would anybody want to know what goes on in my life? And that is how the car chats came about, and they've just took off.
It's really fun and they're not long. They're just long
Oh,
enough to
50
give you
seconds.
a little morning. Well, it's morning for me when I see them. So I love it because it's just a little pick me up in the morning and it's fun. And sometimes you have a little surprise guest, your mini me, and that's always fun as well. So
He loves it.
yeah, it's fun. So anyway, thank you so much for joining me today. It's always, like I said, we could just talk forever, and it's always fun to see you and hear you, talk with you. And thank you to our listeners. We wouldn't be here without you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to My Life podcast. For more information, visit my website at www.lauramuirhead.com.